to make a comeback into the bracket stage. So this is going to be really fun to watch.
Yes, it's interesting how they've both sort of got opposite records in the past couple weeks, and then they're both here at the same point. Sigma trying to break a bad streak and Reg trying to keep a good one going. And oh wow, it looks like the uncle has informed us that Hyrule has been updated for EU GDPR compliance. They've upgraded their privacy policy.
The randomizer is in compliance with those laws, and early matchup from Sigma looked like blue pendant on Hera, 5/6 crystal in desert, and normal pendant and normal crystal over in Eastern.
Yep, always good to get that information early, so then you can think about it, sort of plan out the way you want to go as you start this escape. And our starting weapon today is the Cane of Burna. So the more interesting weapons that gives you invincibility but also does light damage to anything nearby.
Get the lamp, so neither runner is going to have to worry about navigating dark rooms anytime in this seed.
It's also a source of fire very early on, which is something that you often have to sort of route around and not having in the early game. So this will make certain things more convenient. It might motivate runners more to go towards the Desert Palace or Tower of Hera, knowing that they have one of the pieces needed to finish those dungeons. One of the things about a Cane of Burna start is that it's not that hard to do. You actually do have a fair bit of leeway because there are magic pots in the sewers you can get to keep going. But if you are very accurate and very precise about how you use the Cane of Burna, when you turn it on and when you turn it off, you can skip those magic pots in the sewers, which saves a lot of time. So it's a bit safe, but you might lose some time if you're a little bit sloppy.
Exactly. Yeah. When you get the blue cane start, magic management is very important, and blue cane start also means that it's hard to farm for do extra farming for bombs this early on. So runners are probably going to hope they get lucky and something that they have to kill anyway is going to drop that. It's going to drop a bomb for them. Otherwise, they're just going to hope that gloves aren't logged behind the last 3 chests.
Yep, it's always an interesting dynamic. Now, some of the starting weapons you can get are not infinite and use some consumable resource such as arrows, bombs, or magic. So the classic way of going through here, just sort of killing everything that gets in your way, hoping for a bomb drop, is not always advisable depending on what weapon you start with. And the Cane of Burna is absolutely one of the ones where that element comes into play the most. Neither runner so far has found a bomb drop. They're pretty close together. If you consider that Sigma has done a map check and Reg has not, Sigma's escape has been going slightly better, and he's catching up a little bit.
There's not a ton that goes on an escape. There's just like a few things you can do here and there to like kind of shave a half second on one screen, a few frames on another.
Exactly. Just keep your movement tight, get some good RNG from the enemies, and you'll go a little bit faster. Riding escape is kind of a thing that you think about a lot in an NMG situation where those little time saves are important, and at the very beginning of the game it's easy to like do it over and over again, and you do it every time you run. But in a randomizer, you might gain or lose a little bit of a time, but there's so much that goes on after this that it's far less important to be behind a few seconds in escape than it would otherwise be.
And Rando can come from like good routing decisions, good gambling. There's a lot of opportunities to kind of you can do. So yeah.
Though both runners had the same idea and tried to take advantage of the cluster of snakes in that hallway to look for a bomb drop, but unfortunately neither of them got one. They just got some money, which they could use to pay for bombs later, but unfortunately by that point you are out of escape. Reg picking up a magic pot to get a little more ammunition for the Cane of Burna later on, and uses it and finds a bomb drop.
Those rats kind of clustered up nicely over there.
Yep, that's another very important spot to know about when you're looking for bombs. There's a lot of rats there. You can kill them all very quickly. Sigma, unfortunately, using the last of his magic power and still doesn't have a bomb, so Reg's going to get some more items and information here that Sigma will have to go without for a little bit. Let's see what happens. Right, so no important progression, but the silver arrows are nice to have. Unfortunately for Reg, that's not too much of a boon early on, because Sigma's almost certainly going to come back and check it before it matters.
Typically, once you get the gloves, one of the first places you go is the back of escape. So whatever execution advantage Reg may have, he's not going to have it for long.
Exactly. Basically only gained the time it took to go back and check it again, which is not a whole lot. The Sigma checking our tier 2 pull, and it is 4 bundles of 10 arrows and the Hoarder Crab dropping bombs, which is very convenient.
This route from Sigma, it gives you concrete proof whether or not you will need to do the Ogdenum fight this seed, which Blue Mail, these runners probably aren't going to be going for that, or definitely aren't going to be going back for that, but see the opportunity to, like, check all these tree poles, check these crabs, which will give you bombs and money, which in the early game are certainly helpful. That bomb.
Yeah, so the crab's final hoarder prize, if you manage to collect enough of its bomb drops, it will give you a bonus 20 rupees.
I've never made it to the final prize.
Yep, you just gotta be very quick and a little bit lucky. But if you can collect all the prizes from the hoarder crab, he'll give you something else, and that is also randomized.
I learned.
So the half magic has been found in the forest, which is a nice item to have early when your only reliable source of damage is the Cane of Burna. Yes, as a note, we've seen some chatter in the chat about what happens if you lose this match. So if you lose this match, you of course don't have a guaranteed spot, but you're not necessarily eliminated. Depending on how this week's match shakes out, between 2 and 4 players with a 4-3 record will move on, depending on the strength of their opponents that they faced along the way. Those who had to deal with tougher opponents who had better records will move on before those that didn't. And in Blind's hut, in the basement, we have found a sword and some magic powder.
A sword's rarely something that runners want to see in conjunction with the magic lamp.
Yep, because that means that you are one step away from being able to go fight Aghanim. An early flute in the Kakariko Well, and a book. So that's going to open up it's going to open up a little bit of mobility. You can get into Desert Palace now. You can fly around wherever you want, as long as you remember to activate the flute while you're here. I have a bad habit of forgetting that myself, so it's good to see that Sigma, at least, has not forgotten.
Convenient flute location that you can possibly get. Vendor, maybe.
And it looks like Reg has equipped the flute and is ready to activate it as well, so both of our runners are going to be much more mobile once they're finished with Kakariko Village. The chicken house only has 20 rupees, and we can check the back of the tavern, and Sigma will find 300 more dollars. Just stealing from the register in the tavern. An interesting start. Not a whole lot of progression, but a lot of convenience in Kakariko this time. Sigma deciding to check the race game instead of going straight there, finds only 50 rupees on the ledge and decides to not go for that. Can't blame him. He's got 631 rupees. He's not going to need any more for a while.
More than enough for now.
Reg, on the other hand, is going to just rush the race, hoping that there's something important there. It's probably going to be disappointed, unlike Sigma, who just found the bow in the dam. Reg gonna go ahead and pick up the 50 rupees while he's there. Might as well. It's still helpful to have. You'll probably need to spend it later. The second prize in the dam not being so important, just being a bundle of bombs.
I guess when you decide to blindfold the race game, whatever you find there is usually pretty helpful, so you'll just take it.
Yep. Most of the time, that's the case. You're most of the way there anyway, you might as well spend a couple extra seconds. Sigma decides to start by using the bow, using bombs to try and kill the Moldorms, but having a little trouble. Makes it through anyway, using a combination of the bow and bombs to finish it off, and it's going to find a heart container, a heart piece, a cape, 20 bucks, and another heart. So you know what finding the cape means.
Oh, that means that they can make the climb up August Tower.
Exactly. So that's something that's in logic now and what the runners are going to have to think about. They don't have access to the Dark World yet, but it is possible that Egna might be required to get to the Palace of Darkness and Pyramid area. So both runners are hoping to find things like, the hammer and the gloves, or the mitts to try and get Dark World access otherwise, in hopes of avoiding having to take the long climb up the tower and fight an annoying boss at the top.
Exactly, but finding the cape and the sword before you find your first lift upgrade or the hammer, that kind of seems intentional on the Seed's part.
Yep. It'll be interesting to see if one or both of the runners sort of takes that suggestion / bait. I'm curious. Sigma's next play, though, is entirely reasonable and is going to be walking over to Eastern Palace and checking Sahasrar's little house along the way. And he's got a lamp, he's got a bow, he's got a weapon. Might as well do it.
Exactly, it's a crystal dungeon. You can get every item in there. Oh, and there's our first lift upgrade.
All right, so that is one step of the way towards banishing the specter of Aghanim from their mind. If they find a hammer, they're probably feeling a lot better. And Reg is following a little bit behind Sigma, taking the exact same route so far, just a little bit behind from a couple things such as, go into the race instead of checking it first and bailing, but still a very, very even race so far. They're both taking the same route. It'll be interesting to see when this race starts diverging, because I think it's going to.
Exactly, and another big part of the time difference right now is Reg got bombs and escape, and that actually gave him the silver arrows, which I'll have for this dungeon.
Yep, you're going to see him probably pull ahead, heading towards the boss and fighting Armos Knights, because he'll be able to finish them off with 6 shots in the best case instead of 18. And everyone's favorite trick in Eastern, Sigma decides to do it a little differently, saving a little time by firing an arrow shot to take out that second invisible Stalfos.
That was pretty interesting, rather than walking all the way over to that other pod and doing it the traditional vanilla way.
Yep, it works with any projectile weapon. It's a little tricky to do with the bow just because you can't see them and you gotta be careful where you fire the shot because it's a small projectile, but I mean, both our runners did it. So that's 2 heart pieces they have found so far in Eastern Palace. Both of them are going to keep moving and check this chest here, even though they could just go on and fight the boss. Choosing not to leave this one behind is probably a smart option. Fortunately, it only had the map.
Skipping chests in dungeon is something that you're going to see a lot of people doing in these tournament races, just because it takes you a long time to get back to that chest if you ever choose to skip it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like this early on, it's like way too early for either of them to be feeling behind at all. So there's probably not much of a reason that they would take any serious gambles just yet. But we'll see how the rest of the race shakes out. Sigma enters the Armos fight. Prepares the last one with 2 shots, so hopefully he'll be able to hit him before he turns red and take him out. At least that's the plan. And doesn't quite make it, but
yeah, almost.
Still a very good Armos fight. And it's finishing off just as Reg enters. And with that, Reg has just made up almost all of the time that he was lagging behind, just because the fight was that much quicker. So Sigma's opting to go to desert, check the ledge, check Ajina's cave, and Reg is doing the same thing. Except that Reg is going to desert first, it seems, and will probably check Ajina's cave after.
If desert isn't blocked by the Pegasus boots, this is a dungeon that they can full clear, so...
Interesting. The Ether Medallion was found. But Sigma is not going back to desert. He's going to go do something else.
This looks like the back of Escape, so he's gonna go down there, find the silver arrows, and he'll just be like, come on, man.
I could have used those like 3 minutes ago.
Art piece on the Desert Torch, so this is a dungeon that they can clear.
Yep, they'll be able to finish this entire dungeon, but we'll only be finding one other item here. See what Sigma decides to do next. Starting at the house. Looking for the free bomb under the rock, but the game decides not to be friendly. So Reg is going to head straight to Lanmola to try to take him out before checking the right side. So he's hoping that Lanmola drops the second item and then he won't be any reason to check the right side.
Exactly, there's nothing worse than walking all the way over there and just finding the map and the compass.
Exactly, and wow, look at that. The old man is given our second of 3 elements we'll need to skip Aghanim with the hammer.
The castle tower is not somewhere that the runners have to go, though interestingly enough, runners have half magic, and they have both invincibility items heading up to Death Mountain. So Spike Cave by logic is open, this early in the seed.
It won't be open until they find the Moon Pearl, though.
Yes, you're correct. I got ahead myself there.
Yeah, they're going to need that for sure. So Sigma decided to rush the Spectacle Rock Cave without checking it first, just in case it was something important, and that's not an unreasonable thing to do given how little there is to check. But unfortunately found only a bomb capacity upgrade, which is not even worth going there to pick it up. Lanmola did not drop the second item, but Reg will be getting the second crystal at 23 minutes and 21 seconds or so. Yeah, I've seen in chat some people talking about the item on Spectacle Rock. Yeah, Sigma did not put that item on screen. None of us saw it. Seems that Batman is not giving us the progression we need. We're really hoping for a Moon Pearl here so that our runners will not have to climb the tower unnecessarily. And speaking of the Moon Pearl, yeah, there it is. So our runners have Dark World access, and very convenient Dark World access at that. Using the hammer and the glove together will get you to almost all of the Dark World portals in the game. Combined with the flute means you can get to almost anywhere you want in the Dark World very quickly which is very nice. It means the routing is very open, and we're probably going to see a lot of divergence early on. So, with all this new stuff to go, let's see where Reg goes first. Fluting to 8. So, fluting to 8 means that they're probably going to fake Flipper and check Zora.
It makes sense given that they haven't gone up to Death Mountain to check the old man, because Zora, or they get to check Hobo and they get intel on what's on the floating island, and they can sequence break over to the waterfall cave, get intel on the Zora ledge item, and also get King Zora's item. So it makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an entirely reasonable play. Sigma doing the same route through Desert Palace that Reg just did, checking Landmo before going to the right side. Ooh, Reg's got to be careful here. If you mess up this fake Flipper, you can soft lock, but gets through just fine.
Who nearly gets hit by that laser there.
Yep, you gotta be careful. When you're fake flippering, one shot will kill you, assuming that you're on a different screen than the one where you jumped off from. And because Reg fake flippered going from right to left, he didn't even have that safety on that last screen. Just $300 and a heart container in the waterfall cave. But to be honest, at least me personally, I usually like finding helpful safeties when I sequence break areas like that rather than important progression, because that's one less thing you have to keep in mind, and you got to help yourself a little bit too.
Especially since it's kind of looking like the blind fight is imminent. You definitely want... Oh, no!
Oh, no! Reg got
Oh, and
stuck.
he can't...
You can't flute from here. Oh, but he was close enough to land that he was able to get back on.
Okay, yeah.
Wow.
That's a relief.
I was worried there.
Yeah.
Whew.
Off like nothing happened. Gonna go to King Zora. Hope that King Zora didn't notice that. What just happened over there? And oh wow. Yep.
And that was just an insult. Sigma picking up his Moon Pearl. Looks like Sigma's going to go right to Hype Cave, which is a very reasonable first play. You can get 5 items out of Hype Cave very quickly. And if there's 1 or 2 progression items in there, that's a serious shot in the arm. Got a map check, Red Crystal and Swamp. Looks like we had pendants in Skull Woods and Misery Mire. Now Red completes his Dark World access set, getting the hammer from the old man.
That type of a hype cave this time around. Just got a bottle which opens up one location, but
Yep, it's important to have your first bottle.
Yeah.
But Usually you hope for a little bit more than that when you're checking a location with 5 treasure chests.
Or Palace of Darkness.
Yep, it's a reasonable play. No reason not to do it when you have a bow and you have a hammer and you have a lamp. The Reg's going to check Spite Cave, which of course Sigma did not do while he was in Death Mountain because he didn't have the Moon Pearl.
That's a bomb upgrade.
At least that's out of the way now. It's a weird location that usually ends up isolated, so being able to get it out of the way so it's not on your mind is nice.
Reg making the same play on Pod, just without checking Hypegate first.
Yep. Reg's not missing out on anything, though. We'll probably certainly check it later at some point, unless he finds a lot of items and gets go mode before that. Unfortunately, with no small key on the left side of Pod, you're going to have to go around the long way. So it's good that both our runners found Bow before coming here. As Signal C points out in chat, having no mirror in Palace of Darkness is not that fun. Being able to go right back to the entrance of Pod is very, very convenient. And without it, you gotta think about like setting up a death warp in the dark maze once you check the big chest, which is not a fun thing to do.
It's really hard to clear this dungeon efficiently when you don't have an item that, improves your mobility within dungeons, like the mirror or the boots, which I guess we saw over on Lake Hylia Island.
Exactly. And Pod being like Pod always is, never a lot of items out front, just a bunch of keys. All the good stuff's in the back.
Always is. Even the item that gated us from access in the first place was the map.
Exactly. And Turtle's on Sigma's side playing some good defense, trying to keep him away from that chest in the middle.
That's their most treasured small key. Like, that's the most important of the 6 small keys.
That one belongs to the Turtles. There's something useful, finally. The Master Sword was found in the dark basement. The harmless Hellway, only a blue rupee. Sigma's got to be a little bit careful here. Only 3 hearts. It can be very easy to accidentally bump into these Kodongos or get hit by fire like that. And while you probably want a Death Warp once you're through this area, you don't want to die before it.
Exactly.
Finds the compass there and sets a bomb to send him straight to the entrance. Looks like Reg took some intentional damage there against the turtle to set up his own Death Warp. Meanwhile, Sigma is on his way to Helmasaur King to collect the crystal here as well as the last item. Press F to pay respects for Marissa.
Actually need to pay respect when it's intentional, though.
I don't know, I just saw the letter F.
Okay, fair enough.
No problem with the turtle room for Sigma. Much easier to do when you can see what you're doing.
That room's kind of a pain in the dark, so Hurley Lamp is helpful in that respect.
Absolutely. And here's Helmasaur King himself. 17 hits to the face will remove the mask, and you'll probably use a silver arrow to finish him off.
The dome. And there we go, nice fight from Sigma.
Yep, no problems there. That was textbook. Finding only a bomb upgrade from the Helmasaur drop, but that is a 3rd crystal in under 39 minutes. So our runners are making very good time so far.
You would have liked to have gotten more out of there than just a sword upgrade, but you know, given the big key location, there wasn't that much of a difference between Go Mode Pod and non-Go Mode Pod, and you know, it's so out of the way at this point that it doesn't make sense to, you know, kind of leave that alone for so long. Too long, I guess.
Absolutely, I 100% agree. Reg also having a very nice Helmasaur fight. No problems at all. Sigma going to check the Sick Kid. Only a heart piece.
DC has pieces of his heart fall off, but Sigma's okay with that. He's just gonna walk away.
I mean, I don't know. Seems like Sick Kid might not need it for too much longer. I'm a little worried.
Sick Kid.
Alright, so Sigma is going to go to the Village of Outcasts. This is a very nice play. You got 3 items in the village, the digging game. Thieves Town is full clearable with the hammer. Going to check Skull Woods as well, which is pretty convenient given that the second half of the dungeon, which is locked behind the fire rod, is separate from the rest of the dungeon where all the items are, hopefully. Only a heart piece on the pyramid, unfortunately for Reg. We'll see if he continues north to go to the catfish. Sigma looking for value in Skull Woods, but not finding any. We'll see if he goes to the next room, which is a little bit out of the way if you're not finishing the dungeon. And he's not going to. He's going to continue south. Maybe check Bumper Ledge while he's in this area. Look at that. That's an ice rod.
Ice rod this early. Oh, no.
Absolutely.
Red showing some slight displeasure with the catfish drop.
Hey, you got a really cool shield. It's red, and it's got a V on it. It's fireproof.
Well, I mean, that's just a cool name for a thing. How can it not be cool?
Exactly. So one thing we got to consider here is that the ice rod is in a bit of an out-of-the-way location that some runners often neglect to check out as early as Sigma just did. And given the ice rod status as an item that unlocks exactly one location, and a location that's often required, as it is in this seed, you got to hope that Reg checks it sometime soon as well and doesn't leave that until the very end of the seed.
And Reg, given chat the disappointing news that Pedestal not required this seed.
Just move along. Now, the fire shield does block fire. Just only a little bit of it at a time.
It doesn't block any actual fire. Like, if you stand in front of one of the fire bars, like over in Thieves Town, like, you still take damage. So, you know, it's kind of a, what's the word I'm looking for, misnomer?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, Sigma has found the hookshot in Thieves Town, which is a very important item, especially pre-boots. And it gives you a lot more mobility and lets you get through some areas, especially dungeons, a lot quicker by using it to latch on to distant jars and pull yourself around rooms.
In terms of Randomizer, that opens up, I think, about 8 chests on the right side of the Light World Death Mountain, as well as Pendant Tower of Hera.
Yep, both very important. Also in Seas Town, the Bombos Medallion, which we don't know yet whether or not it's super important, but that will let you get through the Freezors in Ice Palace once that's available, if they don't find the Fire Rod by then. Unlike Sigma, Reg is going to keep moving to check one more chest here in Skull Woods. Using the very helpful knowledge that Ether insta-kills Gibdo without even any time-consuming animation to make this room a lot easier to deal with. And look at that! That's a big payoff. Checking one more chest that Sigma didn't in Skull Woods and gets the mirror. That's a big advantage. As we talked about earlier, the mirror will let you route certain dungeons a lot more cleanly, but it also means you can route the overworld a lot more cleanly as well. You can walk around in the dark world and use the mirror to check nearby places in the light world as well, and really route the overworld twice as fast.
Because we're going to see Reg get this ice rod off Bumper Cave, but he's also going to be able to walk over to the Graveyard Ledge and get whatever's in there.
Yep, the mirror's going to start paying off right away.
With progression, you have to wonder when he's going to get back to that chest in Skull Woods.
Yeah, with Skull Woods being a pendant dungeon, there's like almost no reason to want to go back there. I mean, even a pedestal check is a thing that he might not do, considering that Misery Mire is a pendant, so there's not really a whole lot that can be on the pedestal. Obviously, it's way too early to say anything about how this race is going to shake out, but that is a big advantage, and that advantage is only going to get bigger the longer Sigma decides to not go back to Skull Woods.
Got flippers out of Thieves Town.
That's a pretty good get. You have Hammer and Hookshot as well, which means that you could go to Swamp Palace, where there are 6 items to find. Of course, Sigma's got to find the mirror before he can do that.
Whereas that's going to be a check that Reg is absolutely going to make on his way through Thieves Town.
Yep. So that's another thing that's looking pretty good for Reg, another bonus to having the mirror. Also, as Signal C points out in chat, once Reg picks up the flippers in Thieves Town, he'll be able to go get the boots.
Yeah, that is very important. It's really nice to have that extra mobility and be able to, like, you know, hit that A button over and over again when you're playing the game.
Absolutely. The boots also opening up locations like King's Tomb. Unfortunately, though, Sigma returned to the Village of Outcasts area, is not showing any sign of going back to Skull Woods to find that mirror.
He may be waiting to find a fire rod to maybe make a play on the back of Skull or maybe the cane, but yeah, maybe a while yet before he makes his way back there.
Yeah, and again, Skullwood's being a pendant dungeon, and a rather annoying dungeon in general. There's not a whole lot of incentive to go there, even after you find the fire rod. And Reg, as anyone could have predicted, is going to clear out Thieves Town, get his hookshot and his flippers. You're going to be in a very good place for routing the rest of the seed. Sigma going to take care of a couple checks that Reg did with fake flippers, now that he has the real ones.
As we know, all he's going to find is the same disappointment that Reg saw earlier.
Unfortunately. Hopefully he doesn't have the same near-death experience that Reg did.
Actual flippers, and he's not going to be like pretending to walk, so he should be fine.
I'm sure.
Never know, that crap could be really mean.
Hey, it can be. That's like not even a joke. You've still got green mail. Those crabs will do 2 full hearts of damage if they so much as breathe on you. And here comes Sigma, about to be very disappointed with his $500 investment. Not even collecting the single rupee.
Staring at her in disbelief, like, seriously?
Like, I'm not even gonna give you the pleasure of watching me pick up this $1 you spat out at me on the ground.
It's an extra little bit of an insult, isn't it? Yeah, he does spit those out. That's... And
with 682 rupees remaining, he's not that desperate. Oh, that's an interesting find. Sigma has checked Paradox Cave and found the Tempered Sword, which is not progression, but it's a huge increase in your offensive power.
between Master Sword and Tempered Sword is huge. Like, I think it does double damage. And hey, we get the Red Cane, too, out of Paradox Cave, and a Mushroom.
And the Red Boomerang. So that was actually a pretty valuable check, for sure. Lots of very helpful things, and then Somaria, which is a very important thing. Ray going to finish off blind for Crystal. Should be pretty simple. Got enough life to do it. He's playing well. On to the third phase. Yep, no worries at all.
Excellent work.
Right, Sigma going to check out the Ether Tablet. Finding
Arrows.
some ammunition from the gods. Reg's got to be feeling good with Mirror and Flippers and knowing where the boots are. He's going to check the back cave first. I mean, you're right here. Suppose you might as well before you find the mitts and are able to do the rest of the Frogsmith quest.
Yeah. Wait, you're in town. Might as well do the fetch quest while you're here.
The Sigma making his way through Tower of Hera, which is a pendant dungeon, but it's quick and there are a couple items here. It's often a dungeon you'll see a lot of runners complete if it's a pendant dungeon, even after finding the 2 items, just because you can get to the boss very quick and the boss doesn't take a lot of time to fight, ideally. We call it Trolldorm for a reason.
But they haven't found the second item and they have a key. Two slashes, or 2 spins.
There's the second item. So, Tower of Hera has rewarded Sigma with a total of 6 rupees and a useless blue pendant.
Making his way over to the Spiral Cave, which without boots is probably one of the longer locations to check in the game.
I mean, I think it feels that way. It feels a lot worse than it is just because you're walking and you just like see how long the path is the whole time. And is rewarded with 20 rupees, more than 3 times the money he got from Tower of Hera. Everybody's going to go ahead and check the Bombos tablet while he's in the area. Probably heading towards Skull Woods and Highly Island where the boots are.
Relatively quick check in the area. Unfortunately, just another piece of heart.
Yep, a piece of heart is obviously not what you want to see when you're checking locations like that, but when you have green mail and less than 10 hearts, it's sort of hard to be super disappointed with the promise of getting a little more life later. Remember that Reg hasn't checked Paradox Cave, where Sigma found a whole bunch of life.
Yeah. Gets his bomb upgrade out of Spike Cave. So fortunately for Sigma, it seems that Seed is going to be... It's going to kind of gate him a little bit into checking the back of Skull Woods.
Yep, he's very quickly running out of other things he can do.
I believe at this point, he just has Pyramid and that chest, and also Shovel Spot.
Yep, so if we're rooting for Sigma here, you want to hope that he doesn't find important progression until he gets to Skull Woods.
Going to cash in that mushroom you found on Death Mountain.
Yep, might as well while you're here. Just a little more life for Sigma.
Reg heading into Swamp Palace, which has 6 items, and also unlocks the Pyramid Fairy, which is an additional 2 locations.
It's a very, very big location in this seed, even bigger than usual. So unfortunately, it seems like Sigma is doing everything he can not to go back to Skull Woods, which is not unreasonable. It's just unfortunate that we know that's where he's got to go and he doesn't.
Again, that's kind of the thing about skipping dungeon locations. If, like, your mind kind of, like, sets itself to thinking that, like, okay, I'm saying there's nothing in that chest. That means that's going to be the absolute last check I check, and for Sigma, that's going to be what happens to him.
Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes you make a route that just makes that kind of assumption make sense. It's like, I don't want to go back there because if there's something there, I know I'm in trouble, so I'm going to play assuming that there's nothing there and I'm okay. But that's just really coming back to bite him at this point. Fortunately, the thing about Swamp Palace is that it's got a lot of items, but it's also got a couple of very long stretches where you just don't find anything. Which is why a lot of runners really don't like going there, because in comparison to Go Mode Swamp Palace, it's very, very slow. But look at that. There's our next step.
The Titan bits are required to beat every single seed that you generate, so
yep, and
that's a pretty important find.
Importantly for us, that opens up Ice Palace, which is one of our 2 remaining crystals besides Swamp for Reg, and Turtle Rock. It lets us get there and see if we can get in. So the big question at this point is, where is the Fire Rod?
Because Fire Rod, at this point, that can be just about anywhere for Reg.
Absolutely. Gotta wonder if it's in Ice Palace, or worse, in Turtle Rock.
Turtle Rock is always the worst.
It looks like Sigma is thankfully going to get his mirror. Probably not going to be feeling very good about it. It's showing no sign of rage, just using it right away. He knows he's probably got some catching up to do at this point, so he's just getting right to it. This is an important match.
Exactly, yeah. He just wants to focus on racing, try to make up whatever time he can. On the left side swamp, only got 20 rupees and a map out of it, but also got peace of mind, which is probably more helpful than anything else.
Certainly. I'd say it's definitely worth the check.
Yeah.
When you're missing something like the fire rod.
And as Reg hasn't gone up to Death Mountain yet.
$20 in a bug net in that room of swamp. The bug net is like not useless at this point. Again, both our runners still having green mail, which means that they may find themselves in a situation where they'll want to powder an anti-fairy and keep it in their pocket for safety later on.
Exactly, yeah. And we saw one of the mail upgrades blocked by a lumberjack, so the odds of them ever finding that are pretty slim at this point.
Absolutely. Sigma going straight to pick up his boots. And now he is just as fast. So thankfully, Sigma seems to be making the right play here. He's taking that mirror and checking this Swamp Palace next because, of course, he knows he can full clear it. He knows it's Crystal Dungeon. He's gotta just make a dash for the end of the game at this point. So absolutely no reason not to do this, and as we know, it is the correct play. So let's see where Reg goes next. He's heading north, which means he's probably going to check the Pyramid Ferry before going to Ice Palace. So while Reg's making the walk to the pyramid and Sigma is going through Swamp Palace, we just mentioned that if you are enjoying the show, please consider giving the runners a follow. They're putting on a great show for us and allowing us to restream their race for your viewing pleasure. So if you like what you see, consider supporting them with a follow.
I concur, they've definitely been tonight.
Pyramid Ferry, unfortunately not paying off. Barely anything there at all. So I think Reg's going to Ice Palace next. Or no. He's checking the Misery Mire area first.
Since there's 3 relatively quick checks in this area.
If he finds Fire Rod here, he's in a good spot.
Just an upgraded version of the Pyramid Fairy. 20 rupees and a full heart.
Yep, it's better, technically. Where is he going? Ah, yeah, that's right. He hasn't checked the Sick Kid yet. Only Sigma's done that so far. Curious what his reasoning is for putting off Ice Palace at this point.
Maybe just because you can clear it with Bombos doesn't mean that you should clear it with Bombos. Like, I think we've all kind of been baited into Ice Palace and just kind of like... I mean, the Fire Rod can be locked behind Bombos, but that's not... And, you know, he also has all of Death Mountain check, so that may be forthcoming for him as well.
For sure. I suppose potentially he might be considering the rare case where logically the Cane of Samaria is required to complete Ice Palace, and might be avoiding it until he finds that.
I think to consider Green Mail and Master Sword is no one's idea of a fun cult stair fight.
It's true. But of course, Reg's going to find his Cane of Somaria in the Paradox Cave shortly, so we'll see what happens from there. Also worth mentioning that he's going to find a Tempered Sword in Paradox Cave as well. If he's going north, will he go to Tower of Hera first?
That or Ether Tablet. And bothering with the mirror locations, just directly to the west of Swamp, just going straight for Ice Palace.
This could be big. If Sigma finds Fire Rod in here, that's a huge swing in his favor. Reg going to make a much quicker walk through Spiral Cave with the boots.
Sigma pulled a small key out of the first chest, which is going to make routing Ice Palace a little bit easier.
Yep, absolutely. That lets you, when you get to the big cross, go right through the locked door and check 3 very closely clustered items, which is very nice to do earlier rather than later. Reg going to collect his Cane of Samaria. We'll see what he decides to do next. With Mitz, he might stay on Death Mountain and check Super Bunny Cave, Hookshot Cave, and the requirement for Turtle Rock, if not even make it the gamble and just head inside Turtle Rock and see what he can find. And the Turtle Rock entrance requires Ether to be opened, which means that we will not be looking for Quake for Go mode. And there it is.
Oh,
Sigma has found the Fire Rod, and though he does not know it yet, that's Go mode.
worried about other chests at this point.
Yep. He's going to be feeling very good. I think what we're going to see is he's going to go straight up to Turtle Rock to see if he can get in, find out that he can go in, and I don't know. I got to imagine he's feeling a little confident at that point, even though he's spent a lot of time earlier. After he found that mirror, he made exactly the right plays.
I'll just go into Turtle Rock because that's going to be a 7th crystal.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, Sigma doesn't know that Turtle Rock requires Ether. He hasn't been there. What he's doing is he's taking a gamble that you see a lot of people do, and that is if you're just looking for maybe one medallion for Go mode, you'll take the 2/3 chance that you are in Go mode and can finish the game and just leave the rest of the dungeon and check to see if you can win.
Exactly, and even if in a situation where it happened to be Quake, he had 6 additional locations next to him, so yeah, it wouldn't have been the end of the world.
Yeah, he's going straight to Turtle Rock. So I am sure that Reg knows that you can do Ice Palace with Bombos. I don't think you get to 4 wins in this tournament without that kind of knowledge.
Exactly, yeah. It just kind of seems like he's putting it off until it's like he can do, but it may just be something that he doesn't really want to do at this point. But he's going to have to get there sooner or later.
You know, there's been a lot of chatter about the latest version of the randomizer favoring overworld locations, and that might be on his mind as well.
Wasn't the number around like 20% more likely to have progression than compared to previous versions?
Something like that. That sounds right. But it is still true that if you can complete a crystal dungeon, you're not really wasting a lot of time just doing it, even if you could have done it in Go mode later. You're still working towards the goal of the game, which is, of course, to collect 7 crystals and defeat Ganon.
Looks like that's the play Reg is finally making.
And that's how Randomizer goes. Reg was ahead, seemingly, for almost the entire seed. And then just he went one way, his opponent went the other way, and then snap of the fingers and the lead changed.
Hey, we found quick anyway, but yeah, Reg kind of got paralyzed. Like, I guess he just like got a lot of options, and you know, that kind of happens in rando. Like, I think you made this point earlier. You just got a little bit rando, like in many different locations, and then it's like obviously going to be in the last one you check. Whereas like Sigma, he kind of, I guess he made this play because he felt behind, but you know, kind of kept his world small, focused on dungeons, and you know, sometimes that's not the right thing, but in this seed was the right thing.
It's a strategy that's been around since this game has started being played competitively back in 2017. Just gotta do those dungeons, work towards the goal of the game. You don't win by checking all the locations, you win by collecting the crystals. And Sigma stuck to that maxim, and this time it paid off for him. Both are runners in some pretty scary low health situations here. Sigma, please powder something. There we go.
Got it. Reg did pick up a bottle with a fairy in it, so that's obviously not going to make or break this race, but it's still nice safe to have, and Reg picks up his fire rod.
Yep. A little bit of frustration there, slashing a few times at the air, but he's in go mode and he knows it. He's just gotta get to the end of the game as fast as possible. Oh my god, Sigma's out of magic.
Yikes.
Sigma, please.
Huh.
Oh, that was so nice. Super quick cold stare fight from Reg, by the way. That was very well done. Very nice if you can get all three of the cold stare eyeballs in one corner and can just damage them all at once.
Optimal strat for cold stare, just slash away, slash away.
Don't let him get away. Alright, now Reg's going to be making his way up to Turtle Rock. And from here, it's a foot race. Of course, Ganon's Tower is still a thing. Sigma has a considerable lead at this point for how much of the game remains, but Ganon's Tower can definitely swing it the other way if it goes bad for Sigma and well for Reg.
This is absolutely a race that can come down to routing, but Reg having a little bit of trouble on his way up the mountain and just showing his frustration at the dead rock.
I think we know who the Dead Rocks want to win.
A little impartial.
Sigma finding the last small key he needs in the second chest of laser bridge. No safety door. It's worth pointing out. Probably going to powder this fairy, though, and be fine.
There's a couple anti-fairies in this room, and I believe he has a blue potion, so...
Seems like Reg is going to be behind by the entire length of the Turtle Rock minus the boss, entering the dungeon just as Sigma enters the boss room.
We're making relatively quick work of the first phase, and Trinex is down. Or almost down. We still have a second phase.
Yep.
The boss.
Just goes crazy. Just attacks it, lets Trinex push him around to the corner, but he's still doing damage and finished him off quick.
If you're new to the Speed Gaming channels, we do have a game that we like to play here. Guess the big key in Ganon's Tower. So there are 22 chests in Ganon's Tower. One of them is going to have the big key, which is the last progression item that they need. If you are subscribed to any of the Speed Gaming channels, or you've donated 250 bits or more to any of the Speed Gaming channels, you can get your guess in and be entered for a chance to get on our board and get your guesses in quickly, because we're going to be starting the game, pending if anyone has the power to start it, but... Hold on, do I have the power? I do not. Oh, hey!
Yeah, looks like you do.
Power. I guess it's going to be coming to a close now. Fair enough.
So it's not on the right side. It was not 1 or 2. Not 3. Sigma going left side first. Of course, it was kind of hard to go right when you had to get a key from the left anyway.
Exactly, doesn't look like Dark Magician route in. Oh, hey, Mushroom Bunny, alright.
Yep. Marissa is a witch. What do you associate witches in A Link to the Past with but the mushroom? Chest 8 has the map. $20 rupees in chest number 9. 10 through 13 coming up soon in the rando room.
So called because there's no reason to ever visit in the vanilla game.
Yeah, a lot of runners did not know this room existed until they started playing Randomizer. In vanilla, there's just some ammo refills in here, so a lot of people got through the game without ever seeing it. Just decided not to get to that wall or bomb it. And look at that, chest number 12, containing the big key.
I know this command. Congratulations to Jellicent for being the closest sub or supporter to the...
Yes, congratulations. And with a small key in hand, he'll be making his way up the tower right away. Reg getting beat up a little bit here on Laser Bridge, choosing to use the Mirror Shield to block the lasers.
was angry at the catfish for dropping that shield upgrade. Look how useful it was.
It paid off. Sigma enters the gauntlet, going to be using the bow to help deal with some enemies from long range. Very clean first phase of Trinex from Reg. And gets bit, but it's no worries, he's got a lot of health remaining. No problem with the second phase. Well, Sigma is dealing with my least favorite room of the gauntlet, this one that's full of ice where you get stuck in the corners and shot at repeatedly. But he's through. Skipping the bunny beam because only missing 2 hearts. Getting ready for Landmo 2.
Having a little bit of trouble with the arrow kill, so he looks like he's just going for the tempered sword spins.
Yep. 2 hits from a tempered sword spin attack will be enough to kill each of the Landmolas. 4 slashes with tempered will also do it. So it's a little bit slower than Silver Arrows, but much, much, much easier to pull off.
Opening up Ganon's tower, and unfortunately not a ton he can do to make up time on Sigma with where the big key was.
Yeah, the big key was on the left side on a quote-unquote forced left side. So, fortunately, it wasn't really a whole lot that could have happened. So at this point, if you're Reg, you gotta hope for Sigma to take a serious spill. But the way he's been playing and with the safeties he still has, that's pretty unlikely at this point. Thankfully, dodges the Gan's Tower sprite despawn.
I think I've only seen that once in my year or so of watching Zelda races, and it was a tragedy.
It always is. And here is Moldorm 2. Not a problem at all. 2 easy spins from the Tempered Sword to take him out. He's ready to go to Aghanim 2.
Get past this, which is my least favorite room in the game, and not a problem.
Oh man, that room's fun until you have to do it without the boots.
Magician strats in Ganon's tower.
Oh man, I I wonder if he feels behind at this point and is deciding to try and make the play that he knows his opponent's probably not going to do.
Yeah, this is not a play you make when you feel you're ahead. Being pace with your opponent.
Aghanim 2 has been finished on Sigma's side. Nothing left to do but the final fight versus Ganon. And with Tempered Sword and Silver Arrows, he's not going to have any problem doing the damage. Just got to be a little bit careful not to take too many hits with that green mail. Very hungry final boss today.
Sadly, we already dropped the mushroom off at the witch, and that was all that we got for food this seed.
Yep. Unfortunately, no meat on the bone, as we would have in Zelda 1.
Mail upgrade.
Well, that's a small comfort at least, but that doesn't make you go any faster.
Not. Answer with this Ganon fight.
Sigma on to phase 3. Unfortunately, getting these hits in a little too late to dodge the fire bats, and he's taking some damage from them, but he's still okay. Did we find the arrows in Hyrule Castle? Sure did.
Or in Ganon's Tower. Goods.
And delivering the final blow to Ganon, wisely taking his hand off the control pad so he doesn't get knocked around by the fire bat, and just sends the last shot right into his chest. GG to Sigma.
Into the Triforce room with an official SRTV time of 1 hour, 38 minutes, 17 seconds.
Congratulations.
So with that win, Sigma gets his fifth victory in this tournament, and he will be moving on to the bracket stages, direct entry, whereas Reg is going to be hoping for a lot of help to make brackets.
And we are joined by our winner, Sigma. Congratulations.
Hey, thanks, guys.
So, wow, how are you feeling after that race?
I was like 98% sure that I was going to lose because of skipping the mirror location.
Yep, and I think as you feared, your opponent Reg did check the mirror location very early.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought he would do. Like, I think he tends to play pretty thorough, so that's a chest he would have gone for, and I went back to it as my last possible location. So at that point, I was thinking, I just need to really hope that everything with the mirror unlocked is useless, and that he just wasted time on that, because I just wasted time picking up Spike Cave and Catfish and all this terrible stuff. So I was just ready to make all sorts of crazy gambles, like, if I had not gotten a key in the first chest of Ice Palace, I was just going to kill Colds there and then go up Death Mountain. So it's pretty fortunate that that was there, because the Fire Rod was on that side. I would have definitely skipped it and just hoped that the Fire Rod was like in Turtle Rock, because I figured I had to be so far behind because of that mirror. So, you know, I was ready to just take every risk I could. And I was not even in a little bit thinking that I was going to look for Quake before I went up there, because I didn't know the medallion, but I was thinking, you know, the only possible chance I have is if all of this overworld has nothing and everything is just on my path, and then Reg spends time like checking all of this thorough stuff, which would make plenty of sense when you get the mirror early, get to do all of that.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. That Reg got everything but the Fire Rod pretty quickly, and then decided to check all the rest of the overworld and burned all the time that he had gained over you by getting the mirror earlier. And you just dashing straight for the goal of the game to get 7 crystals was what ended up winning you this one.
Yeah, wow. I don't remember where Bombos was as well. I feel like that one was maybe a little bit long to find, so that could have been what pushed Reg off of ice for a while.
The Bombos medallion was in Thieves Town, and yeah,
never mind then.
neither of you left that for very long.
But yeah, wow. I mean, I was feeling good about the seed up until, I don't know, when I started having to check things like shovel, and I saw the boots were mirror locked as well, so I was like, oh my gosh. Because as soon as I found the mirror, I was like, okay, he's had boots for forever now too, and oh man. That was quite something.
Yep, it was a very incredible race to watch. I think like everyone was feeling pretty bad for you, because I mean, we knew that you weren't going to go back to Skull Woods until it was the very last thing you could do, and that was reasonable, probably the correct thing to do in your situation. But then all of a sudden, you just made the right play and brought it back at the very end.
Yeah, well, I'm used to that kind of thing happening. It's happened plenty before. I tend to try to skip like out of the way things like that, because I had found, I think at that point I found one item and none of the map and compass. So I was thinking, you know, chances are that's a dungeon item, so I'm just gonna leave it and skip it. And I've done that before in other races with that chest, and it's had the same effect sometimes. Sometimes you save a minute, sometimes you get to do that.
Yep, for sure. Another thing I want to talk about is, I believe your previous couple of races in this tournament have been losses. You got to 4-0, I believe, and then lost your next 2. So was that on your mind going into this, that you had to snap a cold streak in order to stay alive in the tournament?
Yeah, well, actually, those races were pretty similar to this one, just with a flip result. In the week 5 race, it was boots on Catfish, which I left till last, and in the week 6 race, it was pretty funny. Agina had the flute, and that was the fast way to get into Desert in that seed. I ended up never checking Agina, while my opponent got it extremely early, like maybe 15-20 minutes into the seed. So I went around fluteless the entire time, and eventually did Green Pendant Ice Palace to get the book off Sahasrara. And at that moment in that race, I was thinking, oh man, this is awesome. I like got this, and this is this super convoluted way to get to desert as my last crystal, so I'm good. And then, a couple minutes later, he finished. It was like, oh, oh no. So I almost got 3 in a row on the chests that I like to put off or skip just because they're slow. The skull one being the candidate this time, but managed not to burn me because I got pretty lucky at the end there with the fire rod location. Like, if it had been anywhere on the overworld, I was done. Like, I would have been going into Turtle Rock and hoping that it was in there kind of play at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Just thankfully for you, it was just on the way towards the end of the game, and you managed to pick it up first. So with this win, you have 5 wins, which means that you are guaranteed a spot in the brackets round. So, how are you feeling about your chances moving forward to stage 2 of this tournament?
Well, I'm very, very happy I made the bracket. That was basically my goal for the tournament, and I'll do my best, but I have no expectations of moving on because there are some absolutely incredibly good players in the bracket, but it should be a lot of fun. I hope to just have some good races, and if I go in one round, that's fine, but I'm happy I made it this far.
Yeah, that's a wonderful attitude. And your opponent, Reg, has just finished entering the Triforce room with an official speed racing TV time of 1 hour, 46 minutes, and 46 seconds.
GG, Reg.
It looks like Reg is ready, so we're going to pull him into the room as well. Hello, Reg. GG.
Yeah. I can't be mad about that one. Better runner won. Pretty much all there was to it.
And that was a pretty intense race from our point of view. You had found the mirror a lot earlier than Sigma did. Sigma went to Skull Woods and skipped that one chest that had the mirror, and it was looking like you were ahead the whole time. Unfortunately, the fire rod trolled you, and Sigma found it first.
Yeah, I figured I was behind. Well, I figured I was behind from 43 seconds when I got the cane from Uncle. I hate that one more than any other.
Oh no.
Yeah.
But when none of my checks after Swamp turned up, I felt like it was probably, like, unless he went into Hera or went into Meyer, which from my perspective there was no reason to do either, I figured I was behind.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious why you didn't go into Ice Palace earlier than you did. Is it just a sort of a general routing philosophy to hit the overworld first, or were you missing something you wanted to get before you went into Ice Palace?
Nah, I could have done Ice there. I had a gut feeling. I ran with it. It was wrong.
I see. Yeah, that happens sometimes.
That drives like 90% of my routing decisions when it's between similar efficiencies and dungeons. So.
I see. So, unfortunately, this puts you at 4-3, which means that to move on to brackets, you're hoping for a good tiebreaker.
I'm done. My schedule was not strong enough.
I see. I haven't done the math myself, but if that's the case, then yeah, I'm sorry to hear that.
I think I'll have, like, let's see. I think Sigma's going to be 5-2. I've got 2 people I face that are at 4-2. I've got one at 4-1 that dropped, which I think is what really kills me.
I see.
And then everybody else is just below the line.
But yeah, I just want to say that everything I've seen of you in this tournament has been really entertaining. And this race especially was a great one to call. So
I hope you guys in chat enjoyed my GT routing. It was a product of I felt behind and I was frustrated that I missed the crystal switch.
I see. Yeah. I mean,
So
that's what happens.
It's like I'll gamble tile room now, and if it's not there, I'll just give chat a show.
I mean, you got to show us where the blue mail was. We were kind of wondering about that after seeing the other mail upgrade in Lumberjack early on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and say thank you for playing the tournament. Getting to a 4-3 record is, it's nothing to be ashamed of. This is a tournament
small
with
task.
very, very strong pool of players. So having a winning record is absolutely nothing to sneeze at. So I'd say great job.
I was hoping for better going in, but I hit the wall. Burnout's been a thing. So
Yeah, that's the thing I've been hearing from a lot of people.
I think I'm gonna just straight up not touch the game, probably, at least until the fall tournament's announced, if not longer.
Yep, that's reasonable. Playing it too much, then maybe you're not enjoying the game as much. It's probably worth taking a bit of a break so that eventually you'll miss the game. I think you will. That's the way it's always been for me. Whenever I take a break,
Yeah.
feel the call and come back. Yeah. Again, very, very interesting race. It's just the way Rando is that it can look like one person's ahead the whole time, and then just something happens and the lead switches, and that's what happened.
Thanks for doing the commentary, guys. I'll take a look back at it later.
Mm-hmm.
It's been my pleasure. And once again, I want to say that both our runners put on a great show. So if you enjoyed what you saw, and if you guys are anything like me, you absolutely did, please consider giving the runners a follow and supporting them, seeing what else they do on their channel. It's been an absolute pleasure to call this race for you guys.
Okay, the same thing. GG to both of you.
Mm-hmm. GG Sigma, and shout outs to everybody involved.
GG Reg.
So, yeah, I don't necessarily have anything further, so just again, GG to the runners.
Yeah, either of you have any last words to say about the race or the tournament or the randomizer or anything else you want to get out there?
Just good luck in brackets, Sigma. That's all I'm going to say.
Thanks, dude. I'll try my best.
128 people there. 126 if you take out you and Ben. Seems good, right?
Yeah. That seems like a good first round matchup.
Alright, so if you enjoyed what you see and want to see more Randomizer, sure to check out the other speed gaming channels, Speed Gaming as well as Speed Gaming 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, as well as the Link to the Past Randomizer channels are also hosting matches for this tournament. Like right now, you can currently find Randomizer on Speed Gaming, Link to the Past Randomizer, and Speed Gaming 2, where there's a match just starting up. So there's always more rando to see.
Yeah, it looks like that Speed Gaming 2 race is between two of our runners who went 6-0 in the tournament, so that should be pretty exciting.
Absolutely. So, once again, it's been absolute pleasure for me to call this race, along with my co-commentator, Walshy. So, thanks again to the runners. Thank you to the people who tracked and restreamed this race. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, B-Links, for tracking. Have a good night, everyone.